Hey guys, Super Godzilla Final Wars here, and today it's going to be much more of a different video, as you guys can tell from the title. This is more like an origin story of basically the Godzilla and Mikasa series. Well, the Incoming Darkness series. Basically, I was inspired by, in Dinosaur Rise 2020, on him basically explaining on how did his series of the most popular series called Godzilla Rexy, or the Godzilla Rex first movie series, kind of began, and basically it's more like in the beginning of how the story became a thing and all that stuff, and what was going on in the past and all that stuff. So basically, this video is kind of more like an inspire. Basically, it's very much more as a, you know what I mean. Basically, I'm going to be explaining the origin story of the Godzilla and Mikasa, the Incoming of Darkness series. I'm going to be going over the history of the series and why it became a thing. Now, for those of you who are new to the channel and don't know what the Godzilla and Mikasa, the Incoming of Darkness series is, it's basically more like a love story between a giant radioactive monster and a freaking cool, in a way, badass human being in an Attack on Titan. And if you're wondering, how did this relationship kind of work out? Or how did it really work? Because wasn't Godzilla supposed to date Mothra? Well, I'm not a Mothra and Godzilla shipper. Yeah, anyway, sorry about that. I'm not a Godzilla and Mothra shipper, so yeah, and plus, us fans can ship Godzilla whoever we want him. Basically, we can have Godzilla have any type of relationship with any person, creature, heck, even dinosaur or dragon. And plus, a lot of my fans on my original YouTube channel called Godzilla 2000 King of the Mega Monsters, a lot of my fans on my original YouTube channel really loved the Godzilla Mikasa, the Incoming of Darkness series, because it wasn't just a crossover between Godzilla and Attack on Titan. It was also more like a love story between two badass characters. One's a monster and the other one's a human being. And of course, I ended up bringing other guardian monsters like Mothra, Rodan, Anguirus, Zilla Jr., Kiru, and GMK King Ghidorah, more like the main monsters. And of course, we have the main characters, Mikasa, obviously, Armin, Sasha, Connie, Levi, Hanji, I think I mentioned her name. I don't know. My mind is just all fuzzy. It's all messed up and all that stuff. Anyways, moving on. Jean. What else is that? Never mind. Anyways, Sasha, Astoria, Annie, Pink, and of course, Aaron and Zeke. And of course, the main two villains of this series is King Ghidorah, or legendary King Ghidorah, GMK King Ghidorah's father, and of course, where's Harusaka King? Well, technically, it's more like Mecha Dagon, but really and truly, the real main villain is Harusaka King. Now, on to the origin story on why this series became a thing and what's the history about, about Godzilla's family and all that stuff. So, basically, it began a long time ago, before King Ghidorah landed to the Earth, and, well, basically dropped out the founding Titan powers. If you ever seen Godzilla's backstory, it basically reveals on how King Ghidorah left the founding Titan and how it was found. Basically left on Earth for the humans to discover it, and for Ymir, the founder Ymir, to find it and become the first human Titan shifter. The first Titan shifter, because King Ghidorah does not turn into a Titan. And he does grow a lot more bigger and more powerful than he was before. But yeah, like I said, that series basically explains on how King Ghidorah landed to the Earth, started challenging Dagon, and all that stuff. And of course, I'm covering King Ghidorah's backstory on why he became so evil, and how he was interested on the Founding Titan, and how he inherited the Founding Titan, and how did he use it. Also, it's more like a love story between him and Queen Ghidorah from Godzilla Battle Royale, so yeah. Moving on. So it basically began a long time ago. Like I said, way before King Ghidorah landed to the Earth and all that stuff. So, and of course, you're wondering, who was the alpha of the planet? That is, of course, Destructive Goji, Dagon's dad, and Godzilla Ultima's grandfather. Destructive Goji shared a little bit more similar characteristics with Dagon, but he was mostly highly aggressive, violent, territorial, and all that stuff. Basically, that's where Ultima got his side of the family, from the family. Basically. And to believe it or not, there was a great war between Destructive Goji, the Gorgiras, and the Kongs. And if you're wondering who stopped the war, well, basically it was Dagon, after Destructive Goji was killed by Muta Prime. Dagon and Kong's father came together and they declared truce between their species, but that won't happen until like a couple hundred years. So, yeah, there was a great war between the Kongs and the Godzillas. And if you're wondering, how did this war begin? Well, a group of Kongs kind of killed one of Destructive Goji's sons. He basically had no particular main mate. Basically, he had no main girl, so he made out with any female Godzilla he came across, and they bared his children. And like I said, one of them got killed by a group of Kongs. Destructive Goji got peed off so bad that basically he tracked down the Kongs and killed them. And Kong's grandfather got furious, and the war began between the Godzillas and the Kongs. During at that time, human civilizations ended up forming an alliance to most of these kaiju. But the biggest and the largest basically the largest civilization of humans, surprisingly, was Paradise. Yes, Paradise was an alliance to the Godzilla kind. Mainly their king worshipped Destructive Goji and his people. Destructive Goji didn't really care, but he did appreciate the attention and, of course, these little creatures worshipping him as their god. So Paradis back then was a lot more larger and a bigger nation. So clearly they overpowered the other nations that were outside of their homeland. And Paradis itself, the island itself, was a lot more bigger. But during the Great War between the Godzillas and the Kongs, the island became a lot more smaller, because the Godzillas were using the battlefield to basically destroy it, so that way they can get an advantage of the Kongs and all that stuff. Then we have the part where the Great Alpha Ghidorah, the one that Fire Dragon mentioned in episode 9 of the origin story of Legend of King Ghidorah, her and the Great Alpha Ghidorah, they arrive to the planet, and of course, they start destroying it. Destructive Goji at that time decided that he wanted to get married to someone, so he married a female Godzilla, and she gave him a son and a daughter. And we all know who that son is. That is Dagon. Godzilla and Godzilla Ultimate's father, and Mikasa Archimedes' future father-in-law. So, of course, Destructive Goji encountered this Ghidorah while he was taking his 7-year-old son and his, 3-month-old daughter out for a little walk, so that way they can get used to their new surroundings, because they had to relocate to a new territory. So, of course, Destructive Goji, his son and daughter, came to investigate what was going on. And of course, that's how they encountered the Great Alpha Ghidorah and Fire Dragon. As you all know, and you saw in episode 9 itself, that Destructive Goji ended up fighting the Great Alpha Ghidorah, and eventually ended up meeting Fire Dragon. And of course, the Great Alpha Ghidorah made a big mistake by killing Destructive Goji's 3-month-old daughter. And that kind of made Destructive Goji very furious and extremely overprotective of his one and only child. I say that now, but then again, he did mate it with other Godzillas before he met Dagon's mother. So, yeah. So, anyways, Destructive Goji, of course, killed the Great Alpha Ghidorah and told Fire Dragon that if she and her kind, or aka the Ghidorahs, and they're coming to this planet again, he will not hesitate to kill them. Because now he considered other creatures that are from different planets now a threat. And of course, he has great warriors, and that is the Titanus Mothra species, and the Titanus Gamera species. And, by the way, I do not mind saying Titanus. It kind of works, but I still remain calling the monsters Kaiju, not Titans.